Do you know if there were any artists in the early days that Easy and them were working with that didn't necessarily make it as big as a Supersonic or a JJ Fad or a Bone Thugs and Harmony? Some lesser known artists from the early days of Ruthless Records.
Whole Attitude is the one come to mind for sure. They came out, but people didn't respond to them as well as they did N.W.A. Blood of Abraham. Um, they got some release, but they didn't get the notoriety. What's that white girl's name they had on Ruthless? She was okay.
Yeah, that white chick B something starts with a
Um,
T, I think.
yeah, Terry B. Terry B. Terry B. Yomo. Okay, somebody just put Yomo yeah, Terry B. Yomo. And so because at one time Eric was very receptive to local talent. He would sign anybody. Okay, if you could hold a beat, he give you a shot. And and even Brownside, they were good, but they didn't do what they could have done. And sometimes he might have it just might have been it might have been attention span or whatever, but it they had a few acts that did not quite jump off where they could have, and then even
Yeah,
after
yeah. Go ahead.
even after Eric passed, Yella had that group Menage a Trois. Menage a Trois was another. Ren's album did okay. I think Ren's album might have went gold or platinum. I'm not
It
sure.
definitely went platinum. Yeah, Kiss My Black Ass was one of my favorite albums. That went platinum for sure.
Okay, okay. So yeah, but even though it's as good of a rapper as Ren is, you don't get the same notoriety as DOC and nobody else. So it is what it is, Doc.
Hmm. What do you remember about? I interviewed a couple people, one being from South Central Cartel. I know you know them well also, but there was a time in the early 90s where Warren G, South Central Cartel, Domino, it's documented that they basically saved Def Jam Records. No one was buying East Coast albums. It was all West Coast, and they started signing West Coast people. What do you remember about the transition from East Coast holding the title to it transitioning to, oh, it's a West Coast thing now?
Well, at one point in time, when gangster rap came in like locusts, man. It ate up everything. It killed everything. Positive rap, it killed New Jack, it killed everything. And everybody, N.W.A was so hot, everybody wanted to be gangsters. And New York rappers were not. LL was great, but he's not a gangster. He's a hardcore rapper, but he's not a gangster rapper. And when gangster became the flavor of the day, everybody wanted to scoop. And that's how you got your Warren G's and everybody else signed over Def Jam. And it's just that when gangster rap came out, it came out so strong and so fresh and so different. It just took over. It left no prisoners, and everybody had to have some, whether it was Def Jam, Midwest, everybody had to put their hand in it.
Did Tone Loc or Young MC ever come to your camp?
Oh shit, yeah. Tone Loc was by the house on a regular basis back in the day. Tone Loc, Body and Soul was all, Def Jeff were all signed to Delicious Vinyl, and my house was like the Delicious Vinyl training camp. I was a regular basis. I haven't talked to him in a while, but that was I saw Tone at Laylaw's funeral, but I haven't talked to him since then. But yeah, it's he's on tour on a regular basis, and it's just amazing that some music like Tone Loc, he still works a lot. In fact, he did a residency in Vegas for a while. But stuff that we did, I guess it's called more of a electro funk and the freestyle. We don't do as many shows as those guys do. I don't guess we had the hits that our records weren't as big except for Turn Off the Lights.
What do you remember about Delicious Vinyl? They came in really hard, and then I think they just fizzled out after a few years.
Yeah, they came out. They came out real strong. I think the dude's name was Matt. That owned one of the guys that owned Delicious Vinyl was Matt, and they specialized in a lot of the almost New Jack, non-threatening stuff. Young MC, Body and Soul, Tone Loc, and a couple other acts, and they didn't really transition into the gangster rap. So when gangster rap kind of, I think that was Tommy Boy. That's Tommy Boy. Um, they didn't. They didn't transition into gangster rap like so many other people did.
You know, I interviewed someone recently on my channel, and he told me a story that I've never heard about Eazy-E. And I feel like if anyone would know this story, or at least know if it's true or anything about it, then it would be you. Not saying that he's not telling the truth, but I've never heard this. But he said Eazy-E was a DJ at one point, and that he had a thing where he would tell people to, like, say your girlfriend's name, and then he would do a mix for her, and dudes in the hood were getting laid off of Eazy-E mixes.
I ain't never heard that before in my life.
Yeah, maybe getting confused with Dre.
I've never seen Eazy seriously play with the turntables. Never. He had some turntables. I never saw him seriously do anything on the turntables. Dre was always the turntablist. Dre and Yella was N.W.A. They came from me as DJs, went to Ruthless as DJs. I don't see that. I don't know, man. That don't sound like something I can't recall. I'm gonna do like they do on court. I can't recall that ever happening. It may have happened, but I can't recall it.
Yeah, and not saying my man's lying, but he probably is getting mistaken for someone else.
I can't verify that one.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Someone had a good question. We've kind of talked about it before, but maybe you can dive a little bit. Yeah, I said it wants to know. Ask Unc to tell us how much it costs to record an album in the heyday, on both financial and your time. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, did you get that?
I heard that. An album might take you a month to 6 weeks to record back in the day, because one, if you had any kind of schooling or advisory on making an album, you knew not to go to the studio practicing. You never went to the studio practicing. You had your album pretty much already rehearsed. Your lines, your vocals, everything was pretty much done, practiced and well rehearsed before you got to the studio. You may add a little bit more because you got the headphones on and you're doing your thing. But with us, we would spend maybe 2 weeks or so just writing songs and going with the beat. And then when you go to the studio, you got to track all that shit. We had our first album. We had 7 to 8 cuts on our first album. And yeah, 7 to 8 cuts.